Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Arctic Wire Rope and Supply, an Alaskan company providing lifting and rigging products since 1983. Manufacturing custom wire rope, chains, and nylon slings here in Anchorage. On the web at arcticwirerope.com.
The National Weather Service.
Happy New Year and good evening, and thanks for joining us for today's edition of Alaska Weather. On the morning chart here, we've got winter storm warnings out for snow here over the northern southeast coast areas, and then an advisory out up towards White Pass, farther north there. The warning out for snow until midnight tonight picked up over 15 inches at the Haines Custom House as of 3 p.m. and expect the storm total in some areas up to 20 inches. The amounts have been quite varied and variable across this area. For example, 4 p.m. this afternoon, notice Juneau hadn't received anything at all. And that's it for the warnings and advisories. Those are the only ones out in the state right now, except for the marine areas. Yesterday, a lot of moisture coming northward, but taking a turn off to the northeast and across the Panhandle areas, and then kind of fading back again down to the south. A lot of scattered clouds, or mostly cloudy conditions, a little less here over northern Bristol Bay, and some breaks up here over the northwest. Looks like low pressure was out over the Bering Strait areas, and kind of a frontal boundary up there along the eastern Arctic coast. And this system here, weakening as it pushed eastward, continued to weaken today. As you can see, thinner and a little more broken on the cloud band there as it rotated northward across the Pribilof Islands, bringing a little bit of moisture here to the southwest coast and just up south of St. Lawrence Island. Another batch down here to the south, and then the next big storm out here to the west that promises to bring storm force winds into the western Aleutians tonight. And over the south, or over the Panhandle, here's the storm that brought the heavy rain and gusty winds, 30 to 50, 55 miles an hour in gusts today, that driving right inland across the southern areas. Ketchikan picked up about 0.8 of an inch of precipitation today, and Yakutat about 0.6 of an inch. And then the heavier snow amounts up here over the northern areas where the cold air overran, or the warmer, moist air overran the cold air and dropped all the snow. Clouds extending back to the west here a little bit, and then some good clearing. Looks like occurred Kodiak Island back up over the Bristol Bay area into the southwest interior, and some areas of light snow up here through the central areas and down here in the lower stratus of from the Norton Sound area back down to the south. And then this front weakening with Arctic coast not looking too bad right now. And on the chart today, again, some areas of light snow scattered around the interior. Again, cloudy to mostly cloudy. Some of that moisture working back to the west in from northwest Canada. And the main storm center here, earlier today, the front about this position now is pushed inland. And as this low tracks eastward, those winds are going to turn westerly, looking for storm force westerlies for the coastal areas here, southern coastal areas of the Panhandle. With to the north, winds will be increasing. Lynn Canal late tonight looking for winds to pick up to 40 to 50 miles an hour in gusts late tonight and into tomorrow, actually continuing through tomorrow as the higher pressure up here to the north continues to build southward, and the low cutting into the south of the area there. Out to the west, some areas of light rain and snow across the eastern Aleutians and possibly the Alaska Peninsula, but that's the next storm out there that'll be pushing the storm force winds in tonight, first ahead of the front itself, and then back with the main low center farther to the west there. This initial front here continues to weaken right along the coastline there, bringing a chance of a little moisture here to the Alaska Peninsula. maybe a little more extensive. The heavier stuff will be along the southwest coast of St. Lawrence Island, but even that's not going to be very much at all. And a lot of lingering snow showers or areas of light snow, Copper River Basin, back along the Alaska Range areas, possibly in the Kuskokwim Valley, and then on off to the northwest. High pressure in over the Mackenzie River Delta, clear and cold over the Yukon Valley up to the eastern Arctic coast with light wind conditions there. Even the North Slope looking pretty light on the winds with just some variable clouds. A little breezy out here over the northern Bering Sea, but nothing too bad. And then the tightening gradient here with this low sliding eastward over the south. Again, looking for those storm force westerlies here, especially the coastal areas along Prince of Wales Island. On the south coast, a little more variable up here along the central coast as it swings around to the northeast and gets pretty gusty with the strong winds developing over Lynn Canal and Glacier Bay. Possibly even the Copper River Delta could get a little gusty too as the gradient tightening up here along the eastern portions of the, along the eastern North Gulf Coast all the way up in across the eastern Tanana Valley. And then for tomorrow, those showers gradually diminish from what they'll be in the morning to afternoon. Heaviest amounts will be here over the southeast interior, and rain and snow showers over the southeast coast, all tending to diminish throughout the afternoon. Strong outflow winds here, Lynn Canal and Glacier Bay. Winds diminish, those storms end early tomorrow morning and become quite light by tomorrow afternoon. And then some lingering snow showers, leftover moisture from that front. Just some flurries actually in this area and clouds, but a lot of sunshine or clear skies over the interior. And pretty clear, light winds all the way to the Arctic coast. And that front still with the gales and rain out over the central Aleutian areas. That just weakens considerably, becomes just quite a thin band of moisture here over the Bering Sea down and across, looks like Atka Island northward, staying west of the Pribilofs. Actually, the moisture here may even stay west of St. Lawrence Island during the day Saturday. See a little bit of a pickup in the wind in this area, but nothing too serious at all. Showers may move westward here, snow showers or rain and snow showers. Mostly rain and snow for Kodiak Island. This may be predominantly snow up here, whatever gets into the Kenai Peninsula and happens to make it across the inlet to the Alaska Range there, but it'll mostly be to the south, just some clouds to the north, but could be a little more extensive than what I've got drawn here. Then the next system sliding some snow back up to the north with snow possibly coming back into the southern areas and bumping up against that cold outflow from the Arctic high in over the western Canada areas, northern British Columbia, and that ridges in over the eastern interior, so light winds, kind of chilly temperatures, looks mostly below zero, all the way up to the Arctic coast, light winds on the east side, probably a little brisk on the west side there, Cape Lismore, Point Hope, could see gusts to 30 miles per hour possibly, but the strongest winds will stay back to the west and general ridging down across the Bering Sea and southeast interior, or from the southwest interior down across the southeast Bering Sea and Alaska Peninsula. Looking pretty good there. Definitely a lot of VFR, light wind conditions, and temperatures on the chilly side. Below freezing for the most part with the offshore flow. And temperatures today along the North Gulf Coast, right along the coastline, lower 40s with 41 Cordova. Homer had 40 degrees and a 43 at Middleton Island, and kind of a range here over the Panhandle, lower to mid 40s. Southern areas upper 30s to lower 40s to the north. Kodiak Island upper 30s in that area. Gulkana 14 with 24 at Delta. Fairbanks had 20 degrees, 12 over at Tanana. Bettles 14. Anatuvik came in with 9. But 11 below over at Arctic Village for the afternoon temperature, and generally a little below zero along the Arctic coast on the central and eastern areas, with Wainwright at -3, but Point Lay up to 17, 28 at Cape Lismore, 9 degrees at Selawik, 19 at Kotzebue, and then Buckland another 10 degrees up from that at 29, about the same over at Nome, right at the freeze point there for Gamble. Upper 20s along the Yukon Delta coast. The interior, not much different, mid-20s with 24 at McGrath and 23 down at Bethel. Looking out west, the Aleutians ranged upper 30s to lower 40s, 41 on Alaska, and near 40 along the Alaska Peninsula, and then cooler for a change as you move northeast to 31 at Pilot Point, and 27 at King Salmon, with lows tonight anywhere from the mid or 5 to 15 below here over the central and interior, to as cold as possibly 20-25 below along the eastern border. For the southeast coast, temperatures range from the mid to upper 20s in the north to the lower to mid 30s to upper 30s over the south, and 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, teens for the Bristol Bay area, especially inland, but 20s out along the southwest coast, and staying above zero all the way up to the western Arctic coast around Point Lay. For the highs tomorrow, below zero here over the eastern interior, with say Northway Tok being the coldest areas, or staying the coldest tomorrow afternoon. Teens to mid 20s south central Alaska, and about the same, mostly near 20 here for the Bering Strait. Milder though for St. Lawrence Island. Upper 30s to lower 40s for the Aleutians and Bering Sea. Flying weather, lowest conditions southeast coast here. Again, flow becoming offshore and clearing it out in the north, all along the North Gulf Coast, with even this pattern improving by late afternoon, although some snow showers probably lingering over the southern areas there where it's IFR well into the afternoon. IFR along the western Alaska Range tending to diminish and become mostly on the western approaches here through this area, some of that extending back toward Norton Sound. More IFR up along the northwest coast and the southern slopes of the western mountains there, with IFR for St. Lawrence Island, and lots of IFR out over the western Bering on down, with that frontal boundary coming into these western Aleutians. And for passes, Anatuvik, VFR, either approach, Adigan looking good as well, wide open. For Lake Clark and Merrill, again, lowest conditions early on and then becoming marginal to VFR, with the marginal taking a little longer to lift on the western sides. For the Rainy Pass, occasional marginal VFR trending upward again, same pattern, western approach, probably late afternoon, could be VFR on the east side with windy, occasionally marginal. Isabel, occasionally marginal, but Mentasta, probably just marginal to start with, becoming VFR. And for Tanita, pretty good VFR. With Portage, may start out with some low stuff creating IFR conditions, but that should go VFR, especially here on the eastern entrance where the winds swing around to the west. And for Chilkoot and White, VFR. Looking at the freezing levels at the surface here from St. Lawrence Island all the way down into Bristol Bay, right along the coastline, in fact, hugging the coastline all the way around, coming inland a little bit there over the southern panhandle. And then that mild southerly flow with the front coming eastward, pulling 2,000 feet back up, in fact, even 4,000 feet north into the south central Bering Sea. And on the southeast coast, the freezing level is kind of getting shoved back down as that low center tracks eastward. This is for late tonight and pulls colder air southward. For the icing, possible icing, especially early on, mixed, isolated, moderate rime here of the over the southern panhandle. Maybe some lingering up here from the Wrangell Mountains down to the North Gulf Coast. Otherwise, icing free over a good portion of the interior, if not all of the interior, with possible icing with the remnants of one front, and then a little more extensive out here with the next one rolling into the Bering Sea. And from there, looking at the winds aloft, pretty good ridge, kind of narrow, building northward over the western interior, with again the jet up to the north and then dropping down east of most of Alaska, kind of catching the northern Arctic coast there. And then this jet with that ridging the Pacific jet here, the other portion staying south of the panhandle and splitting right out in about this area. 9,000 feet, low pressure over the northern southeast coast. Looking at west-northwest winds, 15 to 30 and across the area, especially early in the day, but those will be diminishing as the whole pattern tends to shift a little bit to the south. Could see some east-northeasterlies up to 30 knots over the eastern interior, but generally coming back around from the northwest on the light side, ridging along the west coast. Gets a little more expansive up here over the north slope and into the Arctic, with south to north flow here over the Bering Sea, with that big storm center out over the Komodorsky Islands as high as 60 knots west of Adak, or right across Adak on out to Shimia, 20 to 30 knots from just near the Pribilofs northward to St. Lawrence Island and to the west, with lighter winds to the east. 3,000 feet, northeasterlies 10 to 20, come back around, but only at about 15 or 15 to 20 knots here across Prince William Sound on down to Kamishak Bay. Light 5 to 10 knot winds could have put another high center right in about this area. And then southerlies up to 25, northern Bering Strait into the Chukchi Sea, and 50 to 55 knot winds farther out toward the storm. And for the Panhandle, about the same, low pressure over the area there. Trough axis kind of slipping a little bit to the south as that strong surface high builds into the north. Westerlies again strongest earliest in the day or tonight and tomorrow morning. 25 knots all coming down throughout the day. Turbulence, occasional moderate chop here in northern Panhandle right into the Wrangell Mountains, and some mechanical turbulence possible for all of Prince William Sound, including Passage Canal into Turnagain Arm, over to possibly the Chugach Range, Talkeetna Mountains, eastern Alaska Range. Otherwise smooth here through most areas of the interior. And then moderate chop here with that front, weakening front as it pushes eastward. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Don't worry about winter, it's the shortest season of the year. Hey there, stargazers. I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida.
And I'm Dean Regas, astronomer for the Cincinnati Observatory. We're here to talk about winter, the shortest season.
If we could fly out into space this week, we would see that our Earth is at perihelion, which means that it's at its closest to the sun for the entire year. Perihelion occurs on Sunday, January 4th this year at 2 a.m. Eastern Time, when the Earth will be only 91.4 million miles away from the sun.
That's 3 million miles closer than at aphelion, its farthest point from the sun, which will occur on July 6th. We are so close to the sun this week, it will appear 7% brighter than it will in July.
So why is it colder in January than in July? Simple. Because our Earth is tilted, the sun's rays of light appear less direct and are more spread out over the northern hemisphere in January than in July.
The opposite is true for the southern hemisphere, where the rays of sunlight are more direct in January than July. It's a good thing winter is the shortest season. I'm not sure I could take it if it was as long as summer.
Yes, you heard right. Winter for the northern hemisphere is the shortest season of the entire year. And not only are the 4 seasons not equal in length, no 2 of them are the same length. And not only is winter shortest, it's getting even shorter. Why? Let's show you.
Now, everyone knows that our Earth makes one trip around the sun once a year. In fact, astronomically speaking, that is exactly what a year is, one orbit of a planet around the sun. Now, for our planet Earth, that is 365¼ Earth days. And according to Kepler's laws of motion, the closer an object is to the sun, the faster it will travel. Any planet closer to the sun than our Earth should travel faster and have a shorter year.
The closest planet to the sun, Mercury, zips around the sun once every 88 Earth days. 1 year on Mercury is 88 Earth days long. At the other extreme, the most distant planet, Pluto,
Not a planet.
whoops, I mean dwarf planet, Pluto takes 249 Earth years to make one trip around the sun. So 1 Pluto year is 249 Earth years. The rule, the closer the object is to the sun, the faster it travels, and the farther it is from the sun, the slower it travels. And this applies to our Earth as it travels in its orbit.
You see, our Earth's orbit is not a perfect circle, but a slightly stretched out one called an ellipse. And the sun is not at the center of this ellipse. So the Earth varies its distance from the sun during the year. And the Earth is closest to the sun the first week of every January and farthest from the sun the first week of every July.
So our Earth travels much faster when it's winter in the northern hemisphere and much slower during the summer. Indeed, on the first day of spring, the vernal equinox, the Earth is traveling 66,900 miles per hour and takes 93 days to go from the first day of spring to the first day of summer. Thereafter, the Earth continues to slow down until it's at its farthest point from the sun, the first week of July, when it reaches its slowest speed of 65,500 miles per hour. But thereafter, it slowly starts to speed up. Even so, it takes 94 days for the Earth to travel from the first day of summer to the first day of autumn, making summer the longest season of all.
And then, picking up more speed day by day, it takes only 90 days for our Earth to travel from the first day of autumn to the first day of winter. But it continues to speed up until it reaches its closest point to the sun the first week of January, when it's zipping along at 67,700 miles an hour. That's 2,200 miles per hour faster than it traveled in July. So the Earth whips through winter in only 89 days.
So if anyone tells you winters are getting longer, they're wrong. Winter is a full 5 days shorter than summer, which would mean you'd really have to bundle up as you keep looking up.
Sea ice out in the Bering, or eastern and northern Bering, about in this position, and with the south to north flow, this area may shift off to the northwest, or expected to over the next few days, and then increasing easterly flow may actually open some areas up here, but expected to refreeze again with the colder temperatures over the next 4 or 5 days. Anyway, onto the marine forecasts. Westerly winds, storm force tonight, moving into the south coast and then dropping back to gales tomorrow, and probably even by this time tomorrow under gales, or possibly even by the afternoon, with northerlies on the increase here. Gales for Lincoln Glacier Bay, 25 to 30 knots northeast and northwest on down the inside water areas, and east to northeast 25 to 30 for the north coast with higher gusts. And relax it down a little bit, mostly northeast 20 to 25, but still higher gusts blowing out of the bays with northerlies, enough gradient, keep gales in for Lynn Canal with northeast 20 to 25, but definitely becoming lighter here over the southern inside waters throughout the day on Saturday. And then for south central Alaska tomorrow, Cook Inlet, light northerlies 10 knots with northeast 20 possibly for Prince William Sound. North 20 for the North Gulf Coast, and then small craft advisories here from the western Gulf Coast to the Barren Islands back into Kamishak Bay, 20-knot winds from the west-northwest for Kodiak Island. And for Saturday, northwesterlies pretty light, 15 knots here for Kodiak, and small craft advisories again, Barren Islands in across, or from Kamishak Bay across the Barrens, north 15 knots for Cook Inlets, so pretty light there, and northeast 20 for Prince William Sound. Northeast becoming east at about 20 for the North Gulf Coast. Bristol Bay east at 10 there with west-southwesterlies at about 15 for the Alaska Peninsula. Westerly winds at 20 for the waters southwest of Sitkinak. And for the Saturday outlook, light variable winds, high pressure here for the Alaska Peninsula, just 10 knots, possibly northeast 15 for Bristol Bay, and westerlies at about 15 southwest of Kodiak. And for the Aleutians, southerly storm force winds tonight here for the western areas. Tomorrow shift eastward ahead of the front and don't come down all that much due to the low center hanging back to the west there, but gales advancing eastward here to just west of Nikolsky. And then on Saturday, that front really weakens, in fact, lying right through here somewhere in this area, just light variable winds, or variable about 15 to 20 for these areas. Southeast 10 to 20 to the east of that zone, and then south to southeast 15 to 20 for the western zones. And for the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, Kuskokwim Bay, south 15, southeasterlies 20 knots here north of the island up into St. Lawrence Island, and 40 knot southeasterlies there for the western areas of St. Matthew Island, small craft advisories for the Pribilofs. And then for Saturday, still a little brisk up here over the northern Bering Sea, but down from tomorrow, and south 20 knots here for the Pribilofs with southeasterlies 10 knots south of Nunivak Island, and off the Yukon Delta coast at about 20 knots. Looks like 30 knot winds there for St. Lawrence Island. Up along the Arctic coast, kind of a variable wind direction, but on the light side, all areas here, maybe southeast 15 to variable to northwest at 10 for the eastern zone. South 10 from the central coast, and then picking up a little bit here, south to southeast 20 knots there from on down to the Bering Strait. Then for Saturday, may get a little brisker here, or the strongest winds will probably be right through here, 25 knots, so that'd be brisk wind advisories, otherwise 20 knots down toward Kotzebue Sound and the Bering Strait. Central coast staying light, kind of trending down more southerly, dropping off to 10 knots. And pretty light here on the east side, just 5 to 10 knots, mostly from the southeast, could call it variable. For tonight, again, this low rolling eastward, so westerly winds at 50 knots expected here along the south coast. Winter storm warning until midnight there for the Haines area over the northern panhandle. Wind and weather advisories toward White Pass, and again up to 20 inches of snow in those areas that have seen, like Haines Custom House, seen over 15 already, with areas of snow extending back to the west and northwest tonight, tending to diminish with clear and cold conditions up to the northeast, clearing out, continuing to clear out Kodiak Island and Kenai Peninsula areas. This weakening front, just a chance of some flurries and light snow and storm warnings over the western Aleutians, but that front really weakens as it heads eastward. And you'll see on Saturday just a real narrow band. That's about all that's left there as the next storm gathers strength farther off to the southwest. And watching some moisture come westward here could bring some rain or snow or just snow here into Prince William Sound, possibly farther north than where I have it drawn, and down the coastline. Rain and snow showers increasing chances of there for Kodiak Island, increasing chances of snow as this moisture with this system overruns the colder air being driven southward and southwestward by that strong Arctic ridge there over northwest Canada. And basically high pressure here keeps it dry and cool with basically light winds over interior Alaska. Well, that's a look at the weather, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow at 5:30.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.